You are addressing the 2023 batch of MBA. They are the second batch from School of Management and Entrepreneurship IIT Jodhpur. And they come from a very diverse set of backgrounds from very reputed institutions. Thank you so much for joining us. The program is called vAscent 2.0, which is the induction program for them. And for the batch, for the reference of the batch, Dr. Sinha is the MD and CEO of Tata Power. He has over 3 decades of experience in the power field, power sector. He holds a master's degree in business law from the National Law School, Bengaluru, and is also a research scholar at IIT Delhi and a visiting scholar at MIT. Before his appointment at Tata Power, Dr. Sinha was the CEO and MD of Tata Power DDL, that is the Delhi Distribution Limited, which is the company responsible for supplying power to over 7 million people in North and Northwest Delhi. With that being said, and we also have some faculty members with us, as Preeti Ma'am Krishna sir is there. I think we can begin. Praveer sir.
Thank you very much.
Before you start, I'd like to introduce. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So just before you start, we have with us Head of the Department, Professor Krishna Kumar Balram with us. So he's also there in the meeting. And Professor Krishna, would you like to just say some words?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome Mr. Sinha. Thank you very much for accepting this and addressing the students. I'm sure the students will benefit a lot when they are starting their MBA journey to hear from a senior practicing executive. Thank you, sir, for very much. Thank you very much for this, accepting to speak to the students. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Professor Balram, and thank you, Dr. Preeti, and all the students. And good afternoon to all the students, faculty in IIT Jodhpur. Such a pleasure to come and interact with you. And that's why when Dr. Preeti wrote to me just a few days back, I said, this is a great opportunity to come and interact with our future generation, our future and the brightest minds that we have in the country. We live in very difficult times. We live in a very different time. In fact, the last 1 year has been something that no one anticipated, and no one thought that we will have a situation where everything will come to a standstill. Trains will not move, flights will not operate, hotels, shops, nothing will happen, offices will not operate. Right? But what was the big learning? What was the big management learning in this? And I think the big management learning was that in adversity also, how we can adapt ourselves, how we can change, and how quickly we can change, how people started working from home. The teaching medium became virtual, how people started doing everything virtually, and still life went on. How we had the doctors and the researchers who got together and produced the vaccine in the shortest possible time. Typically, it takes about 4 to 5 years for a vaccine to come in. But here, the researchers and doctors worked together, and they had a vaccine which they came in 6 to 9 months' time, which is phenomenal. And globally, people participated in this research program. So I think what is unique is that the innovativeness and the creativity of people, and also the speed at which this is happening. Most of the time, these things would have taken generations, it would have taken decades, but today things are happening much, much, much faster. And our ability to know what's happening anywhere in the globe is also phenomenal. So today, our access to information, our exposure to information, our access to technology is phenomenal. And that's where we live in a very, very exciting time also, that in adversity also, we can bounce back and we can make a difference in the lives of people. And I have a small presentation to make, and I thought since all of you are starting your journey of MBA, it may be a good idea to give you a glimpse of presentations and project work that you will be doing. So let me give you a perspective of what we are talking about is something which you all do on a regular basis and will do in future a little more. And it's about innovation and technology change. And what is most important is that how the world is changing and how it is changing at a very, very fast speed. Uh, I thought, let me share with you that how companies, global companies in 2010 were there, the top 10 companies. We had some people who were from the oil companies, you had a Walmart, and you had an IT company at that time. This is just 2010, 11 years back. And we go to the next slide and we see that how in 2021, uh, excepting for one oil company, all of them are gone. You have a new set of companies over here. The Apples and Microsoft are there. Amazon is there. Facebook, and you have Tesla. Tesla was never there in last 100 years. No one knew about Tesla and how it has changed the complexion in which mobility will happen in future, and how they went and competed with the giants companies which were more than 100 years old, and with technology and in terms of technology they were the most forward looking and most savvy, and still they could not do things which Tesla could come and do. So I think the speed of change is happening very, very fast, and 10 years is a period in which so many changes have happened. Going forward, possibly every 5 years we will see the changes. Let's look at, I talked about Tesla. Let's look at the automakers. We have a small company, Tesla, which started what in 2003, not even 20 years. And then on the other side, you have companies which have been there for 100 years. Ford has been there for more than 100 years, 118 years. BMW has been there for more than 100 years. And then General Motors, and then Toyota, and all that. And the combined market cap of all these companies put together is the market cap of just Tesla. It's not that it has great revenue. Its revenue is very, very small compared to any one of them. Its revenue is just 36 billion, but its valuation is nearly 18 times the revenue. And that's what is the difference. So if you look at Volkswagen, its revenue is revenue is about 2,151 billion, and its market cap is also the same amount. So what is the change that we are seeing is that today people are recognizing innovation. People are recognizing creativity. You may be the first one. It may be the most difficult road that you need to take, but people recognize that, and that's what is the story of Tesla, and so also very many other companies. All of you know about the Moore's law. You all know that the Moore's law talks about that how every 2 years your size reduces and your output increases, and how this is very common in the IT industry, in the silicon chips manufacturing. This has been there for last nearly 30 years. That every 2 years the chips become more smaller, and they become much faster, and that's where it has been working on, and that is now so true. We had great companies, Kodak. In fact, way back in 93, 94, the first company which came up with digital photography was Kodak. But they thought that who will go and do digital photography? Still photography is so good, and we will not move into, and look, it's disappeared. It used to be in top 100 companies. It's nowhere now. It's virtually defunct. Similarly, many of the companies which have been there for many years, they have become history today. And what is it that has happened? They did not change with time. They did not see the writing on the wall. And most of the times, this is what happens. We continue to live in a world where we believe that everything is right and status quo ante will be maintained. But let me tell you that that is not the truth. Let's look at power sector. And since I come from power sector, I thought, let me try to give you a perspective on the power sector. We had the same way of producing power, large generating plants, large transmission system, large distribution system. Thomas Alva Edison, more than 120 years back, discovered electricity. And he said, this is the way to produce electricity. And everyone was happy. That continued. But then now the change is happening. And what is the change that is happening? The three Ds which has happened. Today, decarbonization is the big word. Today, no one wants to put a coal-based plant. It's a history. And whether we like it or not, in India, as also in globally, this will close down. Many of these plants will get decommissioned when they possibly complete their useful life, or there would be huge pressure on climate change areas that will ensure that many of these plants have to shut down. We also know that the new technology, which is the renewable technology, whether it is solar, wind, or even some of the technologies which are coming, which are typically the storage solutions or the biomass or the bio-CNG. They talk of decentralization. That means you don't have to set up large power plants and bring from large distances. You can set up at your place. You can set up on your rooftop. You can set up in villages. You can set up on ground mounted, and you can meet your requirements. So today, a person who was earlier purchasing power can produce their own power, use themselves, and can sell also. So he becomes a prosumer to that extent. And this is also happening because of the digitalization that is taking place. Digital technology has today given you the opportunity that you get not only the flow of electrons on real-time basis, but also the flow of data that comes. And the integration of flow of electrons and the flow of data is giving the opportunity both to the consumer in terms of how they can manage their usage of electricity, as also to the utility. And I think that's the greatest change that we are seeing over there. So today I have, as a power company, a lot of people who are into big data, into analytics, who are doing blockchain activities, who are doing artificial intelligence, who are into Internet of Things, and who are also into communication technology. Because when we have to do real-time monitoring and real-time supply of electricity, communication has to be very good. The level at which the latency factor of the communication has to be 100%. It cannot be that there's a call drop and you do not know what the supply of electricity has to be. So you need to have a huge backbone for the communication process and the various communication technologies which are coming in. You also need to have people who today can do a lot of prediction. We never used to earlier go and get people on data analytics. Now we do that. We never used to have people who were looking at weather patterns from meteorology department. We have now people who do the monitoring of the weather data and do the prediction based on that. So the way that the industry is changing and the requirement is very different. I don't need now people for large generating plants, coal-based plants, coal handling, ship handling, all those things, railway handling for bringing coal, all those things may not be required in the future. And that's where we need to change. What is important is that we need to see the writing on the wall and we need to change. For a company like Tata Power, we are 106 years old. We started the first hydro plant, and what you see is the Valvan Dam, which was made nearly 100 years back. And from there, we brought power into the city of Mumbai in 1915. Bringing power to Mumbai was a challenge. Not only was the generation, but also the transmission, because Mumbai is an island. You have sea on all the sides. And how do you bring the power into Mumbai? How do you bring the transmission system? This was innovation 100 years back to go into the Lonavala area and some of the hill areas, western parts, and set up hydropower plants and bring that power and transmit that power to Mumbai was an innovation. But today, this is something that everyone can do it, and it is not something. And when we look at it, Tata Power has always been in the forefront of doing innovative things. The first 500 megawatts, the first pump storage, the first distribution system, the first islanding system, the first 800. So it has always been the endeavor of the company that how do we see what is the change, what is the transformation that is happening globally, and how do we adopt it, and how do I customize it to meet the Indian requirement. Because what is the objective? The founder himself said, cheap, clean, abundant power is one of the basic ingredients for the economic progress of a city, state, or country. And if we have to supply this, we need to be innovative. Because without energy, nothing can happen. You know that if you don't have electricity, your mobile will not work. And without mobile, you all will not be able to survive for half an hour. So the supply of electricity and ensuring its reliability and consistency is very, very important. And for a company like ours, it is very, very important that we see the writing. And that's why today, many of the activities that we are doing, this, whether it is in distribution services or in renewable services or in microgrids or EV charging. And microgrid is actually a very powerful program where we are going into 10,000 villages and maybe scaling up to 50,000 villages to bring power to all, especially in the villages under the universal access of power, and also to remove the energy poverty which is there. EV charging, everyone is talking about the electric vehicle and the electric mobility that will happen, and how you create the ecosystem and the infrastructure for charging. And then the ESCO services wherein. And typically, the Tata Power has been in all these areas, thermal generation, coal-based, hydro, wind, and then solar and hybrid and transmission. But what is the new business? The new business is EV charging, it is solar rooftop, solar pumps. India has 3 crore pumps, which are running through the distribution system, or 90 lakh pumps which are running on DG set. So how do you convert everyone to solarized? Because fortunately for India, we have more than 300 days of sunshine and very good insulation level and very good radiation level. How do we extend the microgrids to more villages and thereby create the ecosystem or infrastructure for economic activities to be carried out? I would also share with you that Tata Power Delhi Distribution is a distribution company of Tata Power along with Delhi government, and how it transformed itself, how it changed itself, and how it used technology. It's a joint venture, loss-making, government-owned, corruption, red tapeism, everything wrong that you can think of was there, and how over a period of time it changed. But when it changed, and this happened from 2002 till now, it also realized that it needs to keep on changing. It needs to keep on unlearning, relearning, and having the fire in the belly to learn new things. And for doing that, you need to have partners. You cannot do change the transformation yourself. So you need to have technology partners, you have to research partners, institutes, you need to have funding for that, and you need to identify what is the objective, why are you doing all this? And this is something very, very important. Many of the projects that have been done is through a collaboration. So when we talk of technology, when we talk of innovation, we need to also talk of collaboration. The industry and the technology partners and the institutions have to come together. Every of our programs, we've been able to fortunately get partners who had meeting of minds and said that this is a problem statement and how do we work together in the field. This is a great program that we did with MIT. We used 40,000 satellite imageries. We did the data analytics based on that, and then found out that which are the locations which are electrified or not electrified. And then when you have to electrify, what is the best way of doing? So you get partners like GE and ITT and others to see that can we do this. You need to do pilot projects with Berkeley Lab, and then we implemented it with, in some villages in India, and then we came up with a solution which is today getting scaled up. And the next slide talks about how we have used those solutions and now scaling it up. Similarly, today now you have electric vehicles, but you also have challenges in terms of that with more and more of these things happening at the distribution level, at the usage level. how do you come up again with solutions which will ensure that the complexity of the grid does not lead to any failure of the grid? And to that extent, how some of the technologies we can do. We again tied up with various people, including IIT Delhi, and then came up with solutions that this is the way that we can go forward and meet the requirement of the future. This is the battery storage solution. What I want to tell you is that there are large number of initiatives that a company has to take. And so also it's very important for each one of you to understand that it is not that things will just remain as it is. Go back. So when we look at our country, go back, we find, and globally also, we find that there are a lot of challenges. And as a lot of challenges of inequality, climate change, and of course the pandemic, which is there. And this is global thing. You have US and you have Europe, and then you have the Africa, and then the sub-Sahara Africa, and then you have India and the Southeast Asia. How these countries are handling it, how these changes are impacting them, and how we can contribute. What is it that today we as a country and we as individuals, as institutions can do? And for us, it's a very, very important that we do not lose sight of it, that there are a large number of people in this country who do not have employment, who do not get 2 square feet, who do not get education, who do not get clean drinking water, who do not have access for any employment activity. How do we support them? How do we come up with solutions which will help them to make a difference in their life as also in the lives of others in the community? And I think that's where there is a requirement. There is a requirement of large number of people. But to do that, it's very, very important that we create the right ecosystem and we create a way in which the transformation can happen. And for that, it's very, very important that we become the innovators ourselves, we become the innovation leaders ourselves, and that is the only way that we can drive the change for the world. So, so I will stop my presentation here. The messaging that I want to do to all of you is that you all are in a sweet spot. You are in one of the best institutions in the country. You are privileged, and you have the opportunity of having access to the best of the facilities over there, best of the faculty, best of the research platforms that you can get. How do you bring the change in you? How do you be the change agent in the society? How can you really contribute in the way the country and the humankind can benefit? It's very, very important when you are doing, when you are getting into to a management school, that you make a roadmap for yourself. You are there for 2 years. What is it that you would do? Is it going to be everyday party, or there is going to be more than party and there is going to be more of fun? Is it just going to be the academics that you would do, or more than the academics that you would do, which will, to that extent, give you the exposure, the opportunity, and the self-confidence of doing things which are very, very different than a normal book will teach you. And I think as youngsters, you have every opportunity, every facility in front of you. You are blessed to that extent, and it is left to you how you want to use your time and how to make the best of your of the opportunity that has been given to you. So I'll stop over here. If there are any questions, I would be more than happy to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for sharing your thoughts. And I would ask Sunandita to ask his question.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Sunandita Chaudhary here. So, sir, my question to you would be that taking a leaf out of Tata's own book, what advice do you have for us so that we become better socially and environmentally responsible leaders and entrepreneurs?
So I think my presentation covered many of these aspects. And the most important thing is your own desire to do things which is different. So if you think that you get a CGPA of, I don't know, out of 10, you will get a CGPA of 9 or 9.5, and that's the be all and end all. Academically, yes, but otherwise, in terms of your growth, I don't think that's the right way of looking at it. There are huge opportunities, and you should look at that how you can intern, how you can do more work, which will, in a way, be socially relevant, and also in terms of technology, it can provide solutions to people. Because at the end of the day, anything that we do should have a result. It should benefit large number of people, and that's what is the whole objective of any innovation, any creative solutions that we are going.
Thank you, sir.
Akash, you can go ahead with your question.
Good afternoon, sir. As we know that the whole of the world is moving towards the renewable source of energy, and we can see our countries also having a very great target for that, like 175 gigawatt by 2022 and more than that. And we are seeing that most of the bigger giants like Adani and Reliance is also entering in this venture. As per you, what are the challenges which we are going to face to tackle our target?
Now, we can say anything, but to do that is a task in itself. And when you are doing such large transformational changes, you need to work with multiple players. So there are large number of stakeholders in this. So it is not just aspirational number, and you expect you, since you have said and you have dreamt about it, you will reach over there. So how do you work closely with the government? How do you work closely with the policy makers? How do you work closely with the manufacturing ecosystem? How do you work with the community? After all, when you do these, you will go and put it on some land. Someone's land is there. How do you take care of that? What is a win-win solution? It cannot be that you win and you do everything and you make money, but the farmer over there is not making money. So how do you come with solutions which balances the economic requirement, but also takes care of the social obligations that you have? And any plan to succeed needs to consider all these things. If you are ignoring it, you may succeed once or twice, but you may not succeed always. So sooner or later, it will catch up with you. So it's very, very important that for a sustainable solution, a fair and a balanced approach is very necessary, and everyone should be a bhagidari. You should have a bhagidari of everyone. Otherwise, it is just isolated streams of or pockets of success that you will see, and not a comprehensive success.
Thank you, sir.
Ayush, you can go ahead. Ayush Sharma, if you have your questions, you can go ahead.
Audible?
Yes, Ayush, you are audible.
Yes,
Go ahead.
audible.
Sir, my question that we also see the Tata Power had a motive to home the rooftop.
Not able to hear you. Can you be a little loud?
Ayush,
Come closer to the mic.
Okay, so right now it's okay.
Yeah, this
yes.
is better.
Yeah, okay. Sorry for that. So, sir, I want to ask a question that the Tata Power had a motive to bring an era of home automation, EV charging, and solar rooftop on the houses of India. And so, sir, I want to know that the people in India are not much aware about this. So, how can we overcome this reason to get a more output from it?
Yeah, so when you transform, and I shared with you that we were typically a B2B company, and we were never a B2C company. So you need to move here and get into a B2C company. Then you need to do certain activities in terms of branding and in terms of marketing and reaching out to people. So that's an activity that the Tata Power has to do so that there is much more awareness, whether we are talking of EV charging or rooftop solar or solar farms or home automation. So these are just some of the solutions, but I think what is important is that how you move the organization. And organization in any case is made of people like you and me who work over here. So how do you change their mindset and bring them to a stage where they start looking at consumers as a user of these services rather than as a generating company or distribution company? It was a monopoly that you were doing it, and to that extent, you didn't have to go and do the effort of marketing. So it's a transformational change that the company is also undergoing, and I'm sure the way it has come out with its long-term strategy, it will be able to do it.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, there are more questions lining up. If your time permits, can we take?
You can take another 2-3.
Okay, Anshul, go ahead. Himanshi, you can move with your question.
Hi, sir. My question is, so what according to you is the scope of green power in the coming years, specifically for India?
Couldn't hear you, but can you repeat your question?
Yes, sir. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, as per you, is the scope of green power in India? Like, can we completely shift towards it, or there still be some sources?
So, see, the green power is infirm power. So, solar means only during daytime you can generate, or wind typically is late afternoon, evening, and night. So, what is it that you can do during hours when you are not having these generations? And there are a number of solutions for that. You can come with biogas, bio-CNG, you can do biomass, you can do very small run-of-the-river hydro. You can also come up with solutions today that people are talking about it. You can come with battery, you can come with thermal storage, you can come with hydrogen. But at the end of the day, it has to be affordable. It's not just a fashion statement to say that I will use green energy, but everyone should be able to afford that green energy. And that's what is the important part, that how do we bring technology which becomes affordable? So any technology has to be affordable, has to be scalable. Otherwise, the technology has no meaning. So any of these changes that we are bringing, or any of the business changes that we are bringing, or business practice, should be able to reach out to large number of people, and you should be able to give it at its cost that people can afford.
Thank you, sir.
Paridhi.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is that how has Tata Power prepared itself for adversities?
So that's a regular exercise that you keep on preparing yourself for the challenges. COVID did not inform you that I'm coming to China or coming to US and next week I will come to India. So you have to be ready for these type of changes which will happen. And and that's where the resilience of the company, the character of the company comes into play. That how over a period of time you bring a culture in the organization which stands in difficult times. And many of these things cannot be taught. And there is a very good example, and I hope in your class they may refer to that, that how when Taj Hotel was attacked in Mumbai, how the employees over there continued to work. In fact, some of them came outside and again went back. And they were later on asked that why did you go back? And they talked about that they were guests over there and we had to serve them, otherwise who would have taken care of them? So these are things which organizations create over a period of time. It becomes a part of the DNA of the employees who come over there. So we sometimes give them injection also to see that they get the right culture. But seriously, I think this is the uniqueness of the company. And this is not only for Tata Group, but also for many of the other companies in the world, where they build the DNA of. So why is it that Apple and Facebook comes with always innovating? Because they create the ecosystem, they create the culture where people can question and say that status quo is not correct and I need to modify, I need to bring speed, I need to try new things and fail and not be worried about it. So those are the type of things that organizations have to develop, and that's how we do it in Tata Power also.
Thank you, sir.
Shaleen, you can ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir. My question, almost all of the organizations high values and culture. We all know Tata has a very unique and top spot when it comes to cultures and value organization. What is it distinguishes Tata's from the rest?
I think there are a large number of companies who have very good cultures and all that. Of course, one thing very different is the Tata is not a family-run business, but there's as such nothing wrong with family-run businesses. They are also equally good and equally competent and equally creative. But the employees over here, to that extent, are empowered and given the opportunity. Many of the companies do not give, but in today's new age, you have large number of companies who are better or as good as the requirement and work opportunity. So, but yes, Tatas have been traditionally doing many things, especially for the employees, which other companies not do it, and it has been has great empathy for their employees, and that's why you have people over here who have worked one generation. There are people who work two generations. There are people who have worked three generations. There are people who have worked four generations. The great grandfather was here, grandfather was here, father was here, the employees were here. Especially in today's age when people on Wi-Fi, they change a job and every 2 years, sometimes I get biodatas, which is one end of the street they have started working and have come to the other end in 10 years time. So every year they feel that they need a change. I don't know what it is, but we don't see that sort of thing happening in Tata.
Thank you, sir, for answering that. And if anyone has any more question, they can unmute and ask. Otherwise, Som, you can give vote of thanks.
Sir, I have a question. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, audible.
Yeah. So, sir, my question is, Tata Power will be a net zero carbon by 2050. That's the recent statement given by you. So, what are the plans and target you have set to achieve it?
So we have said before 2050. So we may do it before 2050. And what we are doing is, of course, we are not putting any fresh investment in coal. But the old plants which are there, when they complete their useful life, we'll decommission them. And we will only add renewable capacity. So we took it as a conscious decision that we should towards net zero, though no one in the country or even India has not taken a stand on when it will become net zero. So it's a question of, again, I would say, long-term visioning that we did, and we said that we want to move away from, not that anyone told us or there was not a business case to continue in coal, but we on our own, we were more socially conscious, and we saw the writing on the wall, and we said, before anyone comes and it becomes a compliance issue, let's on our own go ahead and do things and be the leader. So leadership is not just in terms of doing things, it's also in thought leadership. So this is the thought leadership that we wanted to demonstrate, that even before others are talking about it, we are doing things and we are walking the talk and not just saying about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone for your question, and thank you, Mr. Sinha, for answering that. Som, you can give vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Praveer sir, for this enlightening and insightful session. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences. I'm sure the learnings from this session will benefit my peers immensely in their careers and their lives. Now, that being said, it would be an honor if you ever happen to be visiting Jodhpur. Kindly do pay a visit to the IIT Jodhpur campus. It is being built by Tata Projects, so you know it's quality work. And special thanks to Krishna sir and all the faculties for arranging the event. In the end, if Krishna sir wants to share his thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Som Subra. Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for this very enlightening talk. I thoroughly enjoyed the new perspective of power which is coming in. And that very well fits into the Tech MBA kind of view we are having here is all the courses we are trying to integrate the three aspects of industry connect, technology, and sustainability into all that we do. And so this particular talk has been very, very relevant in setting the tone for the students to see various subjects they'll go through from these lenses and also from what the future holds. I think when they are ready to buy a car, it may not be a fueled car. It may actually be a solar powered or a electric car for sure. And I think the way they're going to lead their lives is going to be so different. And I think coming from a energy perspective and possibilities of the changing energy perspectives, I think this is set a very, very good tone for the rest of the course for the students. And thank you so much for your time. I'm sure you, from your busy schedule, you've taken an hour to interact with the students. Thank you so much, sir. I look forward to welcoming you in the campus as soon as things get better.
Thank you very much, Professor Balram.
Thank you.